Qui-Gon Jinn's approach to the Force was deeply shaped by his belief in the living Force, a perspective that set him at odds with the dominant philosophy of the Jedi Order. While the Jedi Code emphasized detachment, self-discipline, and the importance of maintaining peace through rationality and emotional restraint, Qui-Gon focused on being attuned to the present moment and the living things around him. He believed that the Force was most fully realized in here and now, within the immediate flow of events, not just in grand, impersonal forces shaping the future. The Jedi Code instructed that Jedi should be free from attachments, emotions, and desires, seeking only to maintain balance and peace. It was a code built on the idea that detachment from the world's emotional ties allowed for clarity and peace. In contrast, Qui-Gon's connection to the living Force often meant he acted on intuition and instinct, trusting his feelings and insights in the moment, even when they conflicted with the Jedi Code. This sometimes placed him at odds with the Jedi Council, who believed that Qui-Gon's emotional decisions could lead him astray. One of the primary points of disagreement between Qui-Gon and the Council was his tendency to follow what he believed the living Force was urging him to do, regardless of the potential consequences. He would often make bold, sometimes reckless choices based on these insights, choosing a path that was guided by his deep connection to the Force rather than traditional logic. An example of this was his discovery and belief in Anakin Skywalker as the Chosen One. While the Council remained skeptical, trusting in the unifying Force to determine the long-term course of events, Qui-Gon was convinced by his feelings and the clarity of the moment, seeing Anakin as a force of change, both dangerous and necessary. For Qui-Gon, the living Force was pivotal, a personal connection, one that demanded active participation in the here and now, embracing the present moment as part of the broader tapestry of the Force. It was a force that needed to be felt, experienced, and followed, rather than analyzed in abstract, distant sense. Qui-Gon's interest in the metaphysical aspects of the Force extended beyond his views on the living Force. He was one of a few Jedi to delve into studies about life after death, something that was seen as controversial and almost forbidden by the Jedi Council. The teachings of the Jedi Order, while acknowledging the Force's mystical nature, focused more on guiding Jedi toward wisdom and discipline in their current lives rather than speculating about the afterlife. However, Qui-Gon was fascinated by the possibility of maintaining a connection with the Force after death. His questions about the continuation of the soul and potential to interact with the living after death marked him as a Jedi who did not strictly follow the dogma of the Order. His growing belief in life after death was not solely academic curiosity. It was connected to his broader philosophy that the Force, as a living, dynamic entity, could transcend the boundaries of time and space. Through his studies, Qui-Gon began to suspect that a Jedi could transcend death in a way that allowed them to continue offering guidance and wisdom, even after their physical bodies passed away. While such beliefs were controversial within the Order, Qui-Gon felt that this knowledge was vital for his understanding of the Force and its true depth. He saw it as a part of the balance that the Force required, not just existing within life, but finding a way to persist beyond it. This desire for understanding life after death would eventually lead to his most significant discovery, the ability to retain consciousness in the Force after death. Qui-Gon's pursuit of knowledge about life after death led him to an encounter with the Shaman of the Whills, a mysterious and ancient order that existed in the deep, unexplored corners of the galaxy. The Whills were regarded by many as possessing ancient, esoteric knowledge about the Force, and it was not easily understood by the Jedi. Their connection to the Force was based on their belief in the sanctity of life and the understanding that the Force flowed through every living being. The Whills were not only a repository of knowledge, but also beings who could offer insight into Qui-Gon's search for understanding life after death. Through his interactions with the Shaman, Qui-Gon learned that the Force was more than just a simple energy field. It was a vast, interconnected web that included both life and death, and that death was not the end of one's connection to the Force. The teachings from the Shaman would leave a profound impact on Qui-Gon. He learned that by aligning oneself completely with the will of the Force, a Jedi could reach a higher understanding of the universe. This would eventually lead to Qui-Gon's discovery of the ability to retain his consciousness after death, a gift that would come to define his legacy and influence those. Qui-Gon's quest for understanding the deep aspects of the Force took him beyond traditional teachings of the Jedi, and into encounters with mystical beings known as Force Priestesses. They were beings who existed as a part of the Force and acted as guardians of its most sacred mysteries. During his time studying the Force, Qui-Gon came across these priestesses who helped him further refine his understanding of the Force's true nature. These priestesses were able to offer Qui-Gon insight into the true meaning of balance within the Force, reinforcing his belief that the living Force was more immediate and personal than the Jedi Code allowed. Their teachings would lead Qui-Gon to understand the interconnectedness of all life and the importance of embracing the full spectrum of existence from birth to death. The Force Priestesses also helped Qui-Gon realize that the balance of the Force could only be maintained if the Jedi were open to all aspects of it, not just focusing on the unifying force that connected everything across time, but also embracing the immediate, vital energy of the living Force. This connection would help Qui-Gon become one of the few Jedi to comprehend the larger implications of the Chosen One prophecy, and the role that Anakin Skywalker, the child he discovered on Tatooine, would play in the balance of the galaxy. One of Qui-Gon's most enduring legacies was his belief in balance, both in the Force and in the universe itself. His conviction that the Force was not inherently good or evil, but rather a neutral entity that required balance, shaped his philosophy and actions through his life. This perspective influenced his decision to take on Anakin Skywalker as his Padawan, despite the reservations of the Council. Qui-Gon saw Anakin as the Chosen One, the individual foretold to bring balance to the Force. His unwavering belief in Anakin as the Chosen One set Qui-Gon on a path of isolation from the Council, but also defined his ultimate legacy. It was Qui-Gon's teachings and belief in the prophecy that influenced Obi-Wan, Anakin Skywalker, and ultimately Yoda even after his death.